getting us ready for the weekend. Rev, you have for the weekend. I hope you guys have been doing well, taking care of yourself. Hopefully you're staying on guard for the coronavirus and doing what you've got to do in order to maintain and keep staying safe. And so I'm talking to a lot of people actually right now. I was talking to one of my friends, Bob. He's in New Jersey. I talked to him yesterday, and he said that all of his friends have coronavirus. And he said, "How are you guys doing down in Texas?" And I said, "I think we're so far, so good. God bless, thank God. We're just praying and, trying to be safe, using Clorox wipes and sanitation wipes and things like that when we go to the grocery store. Or when you touch glasses, God has told us, well, God did tell me to do this. He said, make sure you're always sanitizing and being careful not to touch your face and stuff like that. So take care of yourself. Definitely take care of yourself. I know one of our teammates' daughter's friends passed away yesterday from coronavirus. And so it's really serious. That she was the epitome of excellent health, and she fell prey to it and it took her life. And so we are praying for them. But we're also praying for you. We want to make sure that you walk out of this thing with nothing missing, nothing broken. Hi, Elizabeth. How are you this afternoon? God bless you. Happy Friday. So, as you join us this Friday afternoon, our hearts do go out to people who have lost loved ones and who have fallen prey to this virus. We want you to know that we love you and that we're praying for you. And we really mean that. We're lifting everybody up. Hi, Lynn. Hi, Janet. It's good to see everybody this afternoon. Let some people load up while we're talking to you. But we're definitely praying for you. We're definitely encouraging everybody to please do take care of yourself. Please stay inside. Please do that. My mom and I actually went to the grocery store this morning before we get started on the teaching. And I've been really kind of guarded over my mom because she's older. And they're saying that the elderly really have to watch, for this stuff. And my mom was approached by a nurse in the grocery store, and she said, "Ma'am, you should be inside." And my mom's like, "Well, I've got to get some things from my home." And the woman was like, "Can I help you get some things?" And she goes, "No." My mom was like, "My daughter's out in the car." But she said, "Ma'am, please take it seriously." She said, "We've already had 27 cases here in Williamson County." And that's where I live, Williamson County. And so it's spreading. It's spreading. And so please take care of yourself. Thank you so much, Janet. God bless you. God bless you. But guys, we love you. We want you to be safe. We want everybody to make it through this thing and make it into your promised lands. We want you to make it into your promised lands and to finish the calling God has for you. And the only way to do that is to obey what the Lord tells us to do. So with that, I want to bless you, and I want to get into the teaching today. What is witchcraft hitting you with this week? What is it not hitting us with? That's the question. What's it not? What are they not coming at us with? Well, I want to give you some heads up on a few things that they're hitting you with. If you're feeling disconnected, if you're feeling like you don't feel like doing this anymore, I don't want to do this, I don't want to pray, I don't want to talk to anybody, I just want to stay quarantined. Just stay isolated. Just stay in my house and don't bother me, kind of a thing. I just don't feel, hey, James, how are you doing? I just don't want to be bothered by anybody. I just want to be by myself, kind of a thing. That's witchcraft. That's witchcraft. Press through it. If you're bored, if you're disengaged, where one time you were passionate, you were full of fire to press into the Lord, and you were fully aware of what God had promised you. You were engaged from the get-go when you first got that prophetic word in church 20 years ago, and he said, "You're going to be an apostle to the nations, and you're going to be this," and you're like, "Yeah, I'm doing it, I'm there, God." And all of a sudden you're like 10 years into this process, and you're like, "Screw that. I'm not doing that anymore." I didn't mean it exactly like that, but I'm just being real with you. That's what a lot of people think. They're like, "Forget this, Lord, this is just too much. It's too much." Are you sure it's too much? Really? I'm being sincere when I'm asking you that, because the same promise that God made you at the beginning, he finishes what he starts. If you'll finish the testing process with him. That's what we're getting into today. We're talking about testing. We're talking about being tested by God. We're talking about how rough the fire can be. And will you finish the test? Hey, Kara, good to see you this afternoon. So they're hitting you with being bored of the test, being bored of disengagement, not wanting to do anything, not being sure what you should be doing. They're releasing lazy faith against us, having people have attitudes of not caring if they move into their promised lands or not when you were fully engaged at the beginning. And if you don't understand your feelings, by the way, let me just point this out to every single person, which is what they always hit. Because your feelings and your faith are two separate entities. I've said it before. I'll say it again. Your feelings have nothing to do with your faith. And that's why they hit you in your feelings. That's why they hit you in your thought life, because your thought life evokes a feeling, and then your feelings evoke actions. So you've got to take it captive. Take it captive, press through, learn to switch the switch off of your feelings, and keep moving forward. Just keep marching forward despite how you feel. Hi, Lady Jeremiah. It's good to see you this day. If I can talk right, it's good to see you today. So anyway, we're going to start off in Deuteronomy 7, 1 through 8. And it talks about no compromise in moving forward. Are you willing to compromise when God starts making you successful? When he starts blessing you a little bit? There's always a testing going on, by the way. When the blessings start to flow, when you start coming into an alignment with the Lord of love, and you come into alignment with his ways, because God's moving his people into the place of no compromise in this season. Pardon me. If you want to move into the new, and if you want to be used by God, then we've got to do things his way. That's the way he does things. And I think that's one of the biggest tests in and of itself with the body, because we thought we were aligned for years, and we thought we were doing things God's way, but nothing was flowing. Our blessings weren't flowing, and we weren't going anywhere. We were just spinning our wheels, and everybody kept saying, why are things like this? Why am I not blessed? Why am I seeing all these people around me blessed, but I don't seem to be having it flow my way? And the Lord started saying, because your ways aren't my ways. And in order for you to flow with me, you got to go with me, and you've got to go and do things my way. And so we've had to make a few adjustments in our heart. And that's another issue in the conversation too, because a lot of the body doesn't even think they need deliverance in this hour, where a lot of our bloodlines and the bloodline issues are coming up right now within conversations. And the Lord is like, yeah, you do need deliverance. That's what's holding you back, because the enemy keeps taking you to court legally. He's a legalist, and he keeps binding you up in these court matters in the spirit. And nobody even knows how to utilize the courts of heaven. So they're staying stuck, and they're using old wine or old methods, old techniques in prayer, and you can't pour new wine into an old wineskin. We've heard it a million times. You can't use old ways in a new season. You can't do that. So you've got to utilize the new techniques in this season so you can address the enemy's tactics against you and continue moving forward at breakneck speeds. And so a lot of the body has failed to realize the new techniques. And I think partially because the church is afraid of the techniques. They haven't learned enough about it. There's not enough information on there. Although I will say right now, the information is becoming plentiful. So go check out the Mike Parsons. Go check out the Robert Hendersons. Go check out the Rob Horner. Those books. Go check them out. Hey, Sonia, go check them out. Grab their books. Educate yourself. We all die for lack of wisdom and understanding. Check them out. And I really, really believe this struggling with understanding how to come into alignment with the Holy God will come to an end. And people will start walking. And that's, by the way, that's the one place the devil dreads for you to learn about. If he knows that you know how to trump him, how to overthrow him, how to hold your cards close to you, then you've won the game. You've won it. You're starting to walk in your place of ruling and reigning as a son and daughter of the Most High God. He's terrified of God's children coming into the place of ruling and reigning in the courtrooms of God. Heaven is a city. Remember, I've told you that last time. Heaven is a city. Heaven is a city. It has courts. It has every building that your city has. It has businesses. It has services. It has mansions. It has gardens of healing. It has houses of alignment. It has houses that celebrate your birth month, that helps you to align and get mantles. It has resource centers. It has military bases. It's a city. And yet people fail to realize that. So when you go into the courtrooms of heaven, everybody thinks, okay, that's all I know about. Well, I've done my duty, so that's all I've got to do. And God's like, no, you could spend eternity exploring heaven. Most of us will. And you'll still never hit the tip of the iceberg. So alignment is where you're going to start off with in the earth realm. You're going to start off in simplistic knowledge, and you're going to start off in the place that he's got you in, and you're going to start off by checking out these books and educating yourself, okay? So deliverance is key in this hour. I've said that before. God wants us all free and delivered. He's coming back for a pure, spotless bride. Because if you don't think that you need deliverance and you have to have keys that you can access, yes, you do. I'll go to that in a second. But deliverance is a key to your freedom in this hour so that you can learn to move with God's Spirit and his power. Hence, you see real change starting to occur once you start doing the deliverance. Hi, guys. How you doing on Facebook? It's good to see you guys. All my pages are lighting up all of a sudden. So what is a key to freedom in this hour? What's a real key to freedom? The key to freedom in this hour is your motives. Why are you even pursuing what you're pursuing? I've had to ask myself that. And I believe God asked every leader that. I believe he asked every Christian that. When you start going towards destiny, he's like, why do you want to do what I'm calling you to do? And I was like, because you called me to do it. And he's like, wrong answer. Wrong answer. And I was like, okay, well, what are you asking me? Then what are you really asking me? He said, why do you want to do what I'm calling you to do? So I had to seek my heart. I had to search my heart out. And I was like, God, well, only you know. Is my heart right? And then I got all paranoid thinking, is my heart right? And he said, good answer. Good answer. Okay, so let's start tweaking things a little bit. Let's start aligning you with love a little bit so that we can really see if your heart's in it for the right reason. Are you just in it to win it? Are you in it for the right reasons? Are you in it for service? Are you in it to help other people? And it's all I've ever wanted to do since I was a little kid, since I was 8 years old. I looked at the TV one night. I was 8 years old. I was watching Moses part the Red Sea. I got grounded for doing that, by the way. I just want my parents to know that. If my mom is watching, I just want you to know I got grounded. I know you remember that. But my dad had told me to go back to bed, and I was like, I have to watch Moses part the Red Sea. He has no idea how important this is to me. So I snuck up. I snuck back out, turned the TV on, and right when there's like, oh, and the seas were parting. And I remember telling God as a little bitty girl, I said, you know, God, I want to be like him, but I want to be like me. I had no idea what I was even asking. I was stuck on stupid, just, no, I'm joking. And that's been the story ever since then. But I remember ever since then too, all I've ever wanted to do was help people and help people have the best life possible. And I didn't know what that entailed. I didn't know what that meant. But somehow helping people. And so it really, really, that's been my life's goal. And so that's the journey my heart has been on. What's the journey your heart's been on? What's your destiny? Has God told you that? Have you been asking him? And why are you seeking it? So, and if you are seeking it, there's a testing that comes with that. So the new testing that we've just now stepped into, this is where the conversation gets really good actually today. Many front runners, hello, if you're on this program, you're probably a front runner. And you are the most lethal warrior in the history of Christianity, by the way. I just want you to know that the most lethal, deadly, fatal, destructive force against witchcraft and Satanism in the history of Christianity. You're a very different breed of warrior. You're a Psalms 104:4 warrior. You were born for the fire. That's why your life has always felt like fire. You've been going through test after test after test after test after near-death experience to near-death experience where the enemy always took you out. And God is like, but I got you. I got you. Because the enemy knew when he saw the presence of God on you. Hello, some are given the gift of joy. Some are given the gift of faith. Very few are given the gift of love from birth. So the enemy saw God's spirit, God's presence on your life through the gift of love. God is love, because God wasn't going to send you into this battle alone. And hence, the testing began. So what testing are you going through right now in this season? Because many of the front runners have been going through testing to see how we would deal with our enemies. How are you dealing with your enemies? Enemies, let's say it right. How are you dealing with your enemies these days? Are you dealing with them in love? Or are you dealing with them the same way you've always dealt with them? And it's like, I'm just going to pull the old baseball bat and the blanket out. And we're just going to have a wackadoo party. Are you going to do that? That's not God's way. Uh-oh, I've got to shut that off. Hang on one second. Okay. But are you going to deal with them in love? See, our ways aren't God's ways. And although we think some people deserve to have the wackadoo party, but our ways aren't God's ways. And so, but if we continue to do what's right in our own eyes, how does God view that? What does God think about that? I mean, and honestly, I've been chastised by God about a lot of this. Seriously. He's like, I realize that you probably, and the Lord told me this, because I realize that you probably think you're justified in feeling how you feel about how some people behave. He goes, but I'm the author and finisher of their faith. He goes, I'm the author and the finisher, and I know what a heart is going to choose to do and what it's going to choose not to do. And he goes, so I want you to let me be the deciding factor. Let me be the Lord of Lords and the King of Kings. Get off my throne. All I'm calling you to do is love them. And I thought, oh, God, sorry. I'm being honest. I'm just as human as you are. And I mean, literally, you think to yourselves, when the person acts, we see some of the stuff on TV, and we see some people who cross our paths in the grocery store who drive with road rage on the road, and we think, oh, yeah, let's have a wackadoo party. But God said no. And Lord says, that's hard. And Lord knows it's hard, because most people want to defend themselves instead of letting God defend us. And the Lord says, when we find ourselves fighting our own battles in the flesh, do we find ourselves doing it alone? But when you allow God, the most powerful spirit, to defend you through love, are you able to see how big God is? You're able to see really how big God is. And it helps you take the load off. And although it may not happen in your timing, because honestly, a heart of love, this is the truth. The heart of love, you ever feel like a fool sometimes, and you think to yourself, and somebody's really just done you so wrong, and you think, and you're mad, just mad at first. And then you think, oh God, I don't want to see him hurt. I don't want to see anything bad happen to people. I just want him to change. Let him change and be blessed. Let him see what you have in store for them. Let him see. But not everybody will obey God and adhere to God's ways. People have a tendency to, if they have demonic activity on them, to go back to their own ways of doing things. And God knows the end from the beginning. And so that's why God is saying, don't step in, because this is why he says this. It's based on the law of blessing and cursing. He says, I'll bless those who bless you, and I'll curse those who curse you. He goes, you just keep blessing them. 1 Corinthians 13:13, warrior. Because you want your harvest to be made up of blessing. You don't want to have cursing return back to you. You don't want to curse somebody and then have your next harvest that you step into be full of cursing. So you want to stay in the blessing. And it's hard. It's a really, really hard discipline. It's a hard part of God's nature to learn. People are hard to deal with. I had to deal with them for all my life, just like you. Everywhere I go, they're everywhere. People are everywhere. So I don't get off the hook either. Especially as a leader, he holds me to a higher level of accountability than most. And so when we fight our own battles in the flesh, we fight them alone. You seriously do fight them alone. And God says in the Bible, that's the only retribution. If you try to defend yourself, that is the only retribution you'll see. Once you act out on something, that's all. God steps back and he said, okay, that's it. You defended yourself. Instead of stepping back and letting God step in to teach a soul a lesson like only Jesus can. See, God's ultimate goal is to change a heart. He's trying to win him over for kingdom. And this isn't the direction this ministry or this message was supposed to go in, but we're going to go there anyway. So are you the type of warrior that likes to be a lone island in and of yourself? Or are you the type of warrior that steps into the battle with Christ and lets him fight with you, through you, before you, stands in front of you and behind you? So remember, we can do all things through Christ who strengthens us. Philippians 4:13. But when we go it alone, we do it ourselves. So this new breed of warrior, front runner, who are you? You are unlike any other breed of warrior in a lifetime. Seriously. There are no other warriors like your vessel. The front runners are the most lethal, destructive warriors against witchcraft and divination, Satanism, in the history of Christianity. Their hearts dwell near the throne of God, your heart, at all times, and you're used to operate in the fiery presence of God, because that fire is what you were built for. That fire is what your foundations are built on. So the testings in the earth really have no impact on you, because there's no pressure like God's fire. And pressure is the only thing that really brings change. That's what we've told you guys about when you're entering into contraction point 2. There are 4 contraction points per year. There's contraction point 1, which is January through the end of August. And then, I'm sorry, my dog's having a fit here. But there are 4 contraction points. And contraction point 2 is the hardest. Contraction point 3 is August 31st through about the end of September, early October, and then for contraction point 4 is probably mid-October through the end of December. So contraction point 1, 2, 3, and 4. Contraction point 2 is the most difficult. Sorry that my dog was having a fit there for a second. But it's the most difficult. So we're entering into contraction point 2 right now. And it's going to start off at the beginning of April. At the end of April. Through the end of August. And that's where the pressure really starts stepping it up. Now, you're already starting to feel, probably, I'd bet you 1,000 to 1, you're starting to feel the increase in pressure a little bit of witchcraft. That's where it increases. But God uses all things for the good of those who are in Christ Jesus. So he allows the pressure to come on us because he's using it to hone us and push us down a narrow pathway. Okay? He's also using it as an opportunity to see how many buttons the enemy has to push in your bloodline, to see how many things you still need deliverance from. God is a multifaceted God. And he uses everything. Hey, Brenda. It's good to see you guys this afternoon. You guys are really showing up today. So, if your heart dwells near the throne of God at all times, and you're used to operating you're used to operating in the fiery presence of God, then you're pretty much, I could bet you 10 to 1, you're pretty used to pressure. Pretty used to it. So, I'm not saying that you like it. I'm not saying that it's easy. I'm just saying you're quick to adapt within it. That's what I'm saying. And I bet you 1,000 to 1, most of you are. You know how to adapt, even though you know how to hunker down within the pressure so that it doesn't push you down. You know how to pull down into the Spirit of God to where his Spirit covers you in love, to where love carries you all the way through. Now, I will say this. If you didn't choose to get free in last season's contraction point 2, most of you will probably be going around that mountain again. This is the season if you want to get freedom and going to your new place of enlargement. You were be asking God, what do I have on my vessel, on my bloodline that so easily besets me from moving out of this place? You do not want to get stuck here. Hi, Dr. Missy. Oh, hi, how are you doing? It's good to see you, Donna G. So when God tests us, he tests us for completion and success. He's wanting you to complete the process, not give up on it. He's not testing us for failure. When God tests us, he wants really us to see, to be honest with you. He wants us to see for ourselves. So we know that he's God and we're not. He's wanting us to see him move us all the way through the difficult place so that we'll know that it was God who did it through us and not us. That also shows us why we don't have to fight our battles. When we see how big our God is. Because he already knows what he's done in us. He knows what he's built up in you right up until this point. So now, He wants us to see it for ourselves because that's what makes your faith grow. So God tests us by making us aligned to his ways of doing things in different situations, whether they're with enemies or whether they're within financial lack or health issues. He'll test us to see how much our hearts have grown. Do you neglect his word in these times? Do you get caught up in the witchcraft that surrounds it? And do you start saying, I don't want to do this anymore. This isn't, if I don't get my way, I'm not going to play. I just don't want to do this. This is too hard. And I didn't sign up for this. Do you do that? Or are you one of those people that kind of put your helmet on, your helmet of salvation and your breastplate of righteousness and your shield of faith and your sword of the Spirit and your belt of truth and your shoes of the gospel of peace, and you start hunkering down for battle? Do you do that? Is that you? It's all on how you deal with the situation, you know? So you can't neglect his word in these times of testing. You can't do that. Because what he's really, really preparing you for is enlargement. Do you understand? That's why he's testing you to begin with. He's preparing you to see if he can enlarge you. Can he enlarge his heart within you? Can he enlarge his wealth around you? Will you still remain loyal to love? Or will you just be like one of these people that says, forget it. You're just like everybody else. I'm going to forget this. I'm just not doing this anymore. It's too hard. Or will you praise him all the way through it? Are you in it for his gifts? Or are you in it for his heart? That's the motive. Remember, he asked me, why are you doing this, Missy? He's asking you. He's asking Lynn. He's asking Elizabeth. He's asking Lady Jeremiah. He's asking Kara. He's asking Brenda. He's asking Donna. He's asking Janet. He's asking all you people on here. Why are you doing what you're doing? What are your motives? Because if you're in it for the right reason, then I can enlarge you. Will you rejoice in me? Will you rejoice when times are only good, when it's easy? Or will you quit and say, I'm going back to fishing, like some of the disciples did? So God gives us richly all things to enjoy, but when we only seek God's hand instead of his heart, that is a problem with that. So motive is a key as we come deeper into love. And this is why God says, obey my commands. That's when the testing begins. So that God doesn't have to destroy us, because he can't use a clanging pot who only demands to be filled with no ability to pour itself out into the lives of others. He doesn't want vessels that just have their hands out saying, gimme, my name is Jimmy. He wants people that are sold out to the cause of Christ, and they're humbled before him, and they're sold out to his ways. They're like, God, they're always searching their own heart, saying, God, if there's any hurtful way in me, if there's something in me that's not fitting for the daughter of a king or fitting for the son of a king, then help me to step into my role more appropriately so I can represent you with honor. And don't get me wrong, because some vessels, I want to say this, it's in being honest and just truthful with myself and with you. I think that some of us, like, I know that I'm rough around the edges. I know that. And he's left me like that, by the way, for 35 years now. I've been longer than that, actually 42 years. I've been a Christian for a long time, but since I was 8. But he doesn't seem to change that one facet about me. And I was wondering, I was thinking, because I recognize things about myself. I know there are things about myself that are probably not like princessy, kind of a thing. Or I sometimes sit like, I think like sometimes that Jesus and God sit on a wall, and when I mess up, they think, that's your daughter. That's your daughter. That's not mine. That's your daughter. But in all honesty, he makes us the way that we are so we can reach a certain people group. That's the truth. That's the truth. He makes us the way he made us so we can reach a certain people group. If I look like Joe Christian over here, who was always on the ball, who's always, I'm not going to say it in a judgmental way, but looking prim and proper and looking like they've always got it together, I don't always have it together. I got news for you. I don't put Jesus bumper stickers on my car, because what if I'm having a bad day? Imagine that. I don't want to give God a bad name. Down the road, blowing past people. And sometimes I get in a hurry like that. I do. And I just do like, God forgive me. God bless them. Bless them all. Bless them all, God. I got to get, because I'm always on a time schedule. I'm a busy woman. Like many of you, you're busy people. And I'm not saying for you to go do that, but I'm just being honest. I'm a woman that's always in a hurry because I'm always last minute. And my God's always seemingly last minute, telling me, go here, go there. And I'm like, oh, you just threw a monkey wrench in my spokes. And you know what? It's okay to be human. It's okay to be human. I think that's what God's ultimate goal is in this day and time. He's trying to get us back to the basics of love, not to be a cliche, but really back to understanding that we all have flaws. We all are imperfect vessels, that there are none of us that have it all figured out. And if we could just get back to that instead of trying to exhibit who we think God is or who we think love is or what we think love looks like, acts like, what have you, and just be, oh my gosh, people will get along so much better, because the whole plastic Christianity thing does not work for me. It's just not, and it doesn't work for God, by the way. I just want to clue you in. It doesn't work for him either. So the new place, that's the next topic. Pardon me, if you fall prey to the enemy in witchcraft this season, they will trap you. They will trap you in contraction point 2. Contraction point 2 requires all people to keep moving forward, as God is dislodging all obstacles for those who refuse to move out of the way. He's saying it's my way or hit the highway. And if you don't want to do it my way, then I'm going to dislodge you and I'm going to move you out, if not crush you. I don't want to be crushed by God. I don't want to be in his way. I just want to do what he's telling me to do. And I want to say what he's telling me to say. So God is saying, do not be afraid of these people, for God is with you to drive out these nations in your land little by little. You do not have to drive them all out by yourself or all at once, but the Lord God will hand them over to you by throwing them into complete confusion until they are destroyed. I know, really, no crushing. Thank you. God will erase their names from all the earth, and they will not be able to stand against you, says the Lord. And do not take anything from them. Don't take any idols from the land. Don't carry, a little bit of leaven spoils the whole pot. Don't practice their ways. Remember, in this season, it's all about who you're connected to, their roots and their fruits. If they're connected in love, you're going to be connected in love. So you want to make sure of who you're hanging out with. But God's going to erase their names from all the earth, and they're not going to be able to stand against you. And do not take anything from them, or it will become a snare to you. Not their ways, their idols, because their ways and their idols are not your ways or God's way. This is why it's so important as to who we hang around. Are they truly God's child? Have you ever asked yourself that? And it's interesting that we're having this conversation right now, because I think a lot of Christians have a problem with that conversation. They're like, oh no. And I understand, because you never want to judge another man's faith or another man's heart. However, if they're a blatant wolf like some of them are becoming, or a blatant eep, I call them an eep, E-E-P. You just write the word sheep and you knock off the SH. That's what you do. I'm not being crass by saying that. They're just an eep. You squeeze their fruit. An eep is a wolf in sheep's clothing. So you're going to have to learn to squeeze people's fruit in this season to ensure they're who they say they are. That means that you're not going to enter into relationships just overnight with people. You're going to sit back and learn to observe people. You're going to observe their actions. Are they who they say they are? Or when things don't go their way, do they betray you? Do they undermine you? Do they get jealous of you? Do they try to covet what God has given you? Hello, that's going against one of the big 10. That's the, what is it? One of the 10 commandments. It's commandment number 9. Thou will not covet thy neighbor's house, or his things, or their anointing, or the calling. I can send you a list. I got a whole list of them, 10 of them. Then you got a whole book of them. But the eternal laws are the ones you really want to uphold. Those are God's standard. They never change. God never changes. He's the same yesterday, today, and forever. So we have to learn to squeeze people's fruits to ensure they're who they say they are. And just because someone says, Lord, Lord, to the Lord, many people are going to be coming to the Lord at the end of their lives. And they sit in pews right beside us. It could be me for all. I pray to God not. But I mean, we have to always be doing a heart check. Heart check. Lord, if there's any hurtful way in me, change me. And you know what? A humble heart is always willing to do that. Because you see, I mean, to me, when I see everything God has done for me in the past 30, 40 years, all my life for that matter, I can't deny the power of God. I can't. There's just been too much. And so we're having to look at other people's hearts now to see if they're really a child of God. And I don't care if they were raised in church or not. It's about the heart in this hour, and God's separating thoroughly the true sheep from Satan's eeps and goats. And if a heart is bitter and it demands to stay where they're at, well, it's like they're not God's child. I'm shooting straight up. Because a heart that does what's right in his own eyes isn't upholding God's standard. It's upholding its own. And this even includes the Pharisees in the church. Jesus called them a tomb of dead men's bones and a pit of vipers. They were plastic. They didn't know how to love with compassion. They didn't know how to cover with Christ on their life. Love covers a multitude. It protects. Even when someone's going through and they're being transformed. So God is testing us in this season to prove our character, to teach us that people need more than just bread to live in their daily lives. We need true loving relationships to hold us accountable in love. The warm, unconditional love of Jesus. And by the way, that warm, unconditional love can get hot sometimes. It'll get hot at us. It's like, you better not do that ever again. You ever had God get mad at you before? I've only done that 3 times in my whole life, seriously. And I pray to God I will never do it again. It scared the fire out of me. It scared the fire out of me. So we need hearts to hold us accountable to God's standard and not the standard of flesh, which is warped and perverse. We're topping in about 36 minutes. I've got to really get into this and get it done. So people that operate in God's ways will have clothes that will not wear out. And God's bringing those hearts into a good land flowing with milk and honey. It's a land where food is plentiful with nothing lacking. How many of us have been told that a million times? We're like, God, just get me there, please. So before God takes us there, though, he wants to ensure that our hearts are sincere and loyal. Hearts that once filled and made full don't walk away from him. The Lord says, be careful and don't forget the Lord in your success. Because this is a dangerous place when a heart has a tendency to think, hey, look what I did. Look what I did. Look what I did. When only God makes a man rich. The heart has to choose to obey and keep God's ways, or that heart can lose everything. Luke 7:36 through Luke 8:3, it states we can't hide who we really are. Out of the heart flow the issues of life. So if God is in you, if love is in you, you're going to want to guard it with all your heart. And just like sin, it's like true faith. It can't be hidden. Sin can't be hidden. Ephesians 5:11, the sins of the wicked will be revealed. But it's like true faith. True faith can't hide itself. It's just out there. It's like, yeah, God will do it. You jump out in the grocery store. I'll lay hands on you. Come on. Because you know the power of your God. You know how powerful he is and how good he is. When we realize the debt that we owe to the Lord, are we humbled into obedience? Because a heart that's been delivered from much is humbled much. It loves much. And that heart also realized that only God's grace could have delivered it. That makes me very happy, actually. It's arrogant. It's the arrogant heart, It's the arrogant heart that thinks, I can do this on my own. I don't need your help. Thanks, God. I got it from here. See you later. I don't want to owe you or anybody anything, but especially you. I just needed you for this moment of crisis. See you later. And then they'll hit the next place of crisis and they'll run right back to God. And sometimes you can exhaust God's grace in those moments. Because he's like, I expected you last time to come in. His grace isn't a landing pad just for your own crisis. It's not a landing pad in a moment of crisis. His grace is there to usher you into salvation so you can develop your own relationship with him. And so Ron Mills stated, he actually wrote the book Right with God, actually. And he stated that God has watched, check this out, God has watched countless people walk across the planet And he's watched them run into bar ditches because they forgot about God's ways. And they forgot about his heart. So he knows what he's talking about, people. God knows what he's talking about. And we have to keep God first. We have to stay humbled before him if we're to maintain the land. Because God knows what riches do to people. He knows what blessings do to people. And he knows how others respond to those who are rich. How the devil moves through those vessels to manipulate God's people back over to the devil's heart and his ways instead of maintaining God's heart. That's why we always have to know our hearts, front runner. You've always got to be in tune with your own weaknesses and know yourself. Know yourself. I always tell the front runners on our team that. Know yourself. If you're going to fight in the heat of battle and remain at the head of the pack, then you especially have to be in tune at all times with your heart versus God's heart. You have to. Especially when he gives you success. This is why in times past, listen to me. This is why in the past, when you were successful, it was taken away. Because your heart reverted back to its own ways versus maintaining God's ways. You don't maintain a thing. I tell our team, when God gives you a gift, he gives good and perfect gifts. And he's not an Indian giver. He's not an Indian giver. However, the one thing the devil knows that will cause the gift to be taken away or lost is not being a good steward of it, not keeping God in the equation where God can keep a thing. God says, I'm able to keep that which you've entrusted to me until that day. And so many people are so insecure in today's time, and they think, oh, you're after my spouse, or you're after my house, or you're after my job, or you're after my car. You want everything. You just want to be like me. Most people do. They want to copy people that are successful. However, if you've given it over to God and you're keeping God first, God is keeping it. You don't have to get into your fear. You don't have to get into your insecurities and into jealousy and envy and all these crappy attributes of the enemy. That is not God's way. You got to know who you are and whose you are. You've got to know who you are. Because God says, my ways are not your ways. And this is the one thing. And I've noticed this in the church all my life. Like as a single person, and I'm not complaining. I'm just being observant, really. And I understand in sort of, not really, but I don't understand. And when you get around insecure people that don't know who they are when they're married, they always cling, you're out to get my, if you're just having a conversation with somebody and I'm just trying to relate in a group full of people and find out where I connect and who I have fellowship with. And I love the couples that are very secure in their relationship with one another, and they're very loving and welcoming to everybody. They don't make the singles feel like you're the last man out. Don't come, it's us four and no more. Just go on and find your crew. Just go over there and you do your thing, and we're going to hang out with the marrieds. And it's like, but everybody has something to offer. Every single person, every single vessel has something to offer. And I do understand God saying, the marrieds need to congregate with married people. That is true. I agree with that. And I do understand the concept of singles probably would be better in a group full of singles. I get that. However, I also know that there are a lot of married people that have mentored me, both the couple, the husband and the wife, as a single woman, and I love them deeply. And I will never forget them. Some of them have gone on to be with the Lord. And so there's something that we all have to offer is what I'm saying. And we're all called to be a part of the family of God. We're called to be a tribe. So know your place. Know when God's put his finger on things. And he's saying, you know what? So-and-so, we go over and speak to so-and-so today. I want you to talk and speak into their life. Because they need to know what you've gone through in your background. It'll help them. And it'll help them to work through this difficult place. You never know, man. You may be the only Jesus they ever see in that church are going to. You may be the only one that's operating in the warm, conditional love of Christ. You may be the only heart they'll receive from. So, be obedient, please. Be obedient to God's ways. Don't forget about him. And don't pigeonhole people is what I'm trying to say. Don't pigeonhole each other. We're all used as a vital part of the body. So the lost place of blessing, if you lost the place of blessing in times past, the Lord's saying, it happened then, but it's not ever going to happen to you again. For as you continue being a man and woman after my own heart, says the Lord, I'm going to teach you how to lock the devil out. Based on the 10 Commandments, I'm going to teach you about my laws, which are boundaries and fences that keep you safe. As you learn to maintain my standards and my ways of loving. And as we're moving you into Psalm 69, 1 through 18, we're peaking in about 45 minutes, so I've really got to wrap this up, and I'm almost done. I've only got this much to go. So, we need to always keep a heart and stay close to a heart that blesses us. Stay close to a God that blesses us, Not because he blesses us, but because he's a God of love. Stay close to his ways. Stay close to his standards and being obedient to him. Because a heart that always blesses God is a heart humbled before him. A heart that keeps pouring itself out for others is a heart that knows where its true riches come from. A front runner that keeps pouring out continually is a front runner filled with the glory and a heart that keeps reciprocating God or love. God is love. It's a loving heart that knows how to pull others into the fire with it so that others' hearts might be made whole as well. It doesn't have the mindset, us for and no more. It's like, no, there's enough blessing to go around. It's not a leader that says, well, I'll help you if I want to help you, but I don't think you deserve it. I don't think you have as much credentials as I do. I don't think that you know what you're doing because I know more than you. You know what? I can learn from my 23-year-old nephew if I want to. And believe me, as a young child, that little prophet spoke into my life more times than I can count on both my hands. Just through simplistic truth. And he didn't even know he was doing it. He would just, I would be doing something and he'd say, Mimi, blah, 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 blah. I'd just be stunned standing there thinking, that was God. Holy smokes. And it was powerful. You don't limit God. You don't limit people. When you start limiting people because of your own supposed success or self-aggrandized success, you kind of just shut off your own pathway. Because God is a God that believes that there's enough blessing to go around. And it's a reciprocal. What you do unto others comes back to you, will be done unto you. So you're sowing and reaping. And who am I to judge your heart? My only job is to get you into wholeness. And if that includes helping you to get to destiny, right on. I'm all in it. I don't want to be the only one on the top of my mountain. I want several of us to be standing up there. And I mean that. It's a heart that wants to share the blessing like a woman who anointed Jesus' feet with rare perfume. The person who forgives little only shows little love. Or person who's been forgiven little, or who forgives others little, shows little love. But the person who's been forgiven much and forgives much and shows great love, that heart abides in love and love abides in it. The bitter heart, it's brittle and it's fragile. It's easily offended and it refuses to pour out for fear out of what pouring out might cost it. It's selfish and it's always hiding hidden agendas. It doesn't have God's agenda. This is why people have been delivered of much. They know how much they have to be grateful for. Because a bitter heart that's been restored to joy is a heart that knows how big their God is. It knows that God's intentions towards it are pure and that he's a wonderful Father. For the front runner who's been through so much in the past 30 years, yet has gleaned the wisdom and love through all the testings and the trials, yet has remained true to love, is the heart that runs hard after God. It's a heart with a key of David. The key is love. That's what the key of David means. It's a key of love, the manifest presence of God. Do you know it takes most vessels their entire lifetime to develop a heart of God? Did you know that? Have you thought about that? People, front runners, you're given a gift of love. That's the key of David within you. It's the heart of God. And Revelations 3:7 that he who states that he who has the key of David, whatever gate or door he opens, none can close. And whatever gate or door he closes, none can open. So being a man or a woman after God's own heart and guarding that key is the key to your life, front runner. You hold the keys for heaven and hell through Jesus in you. The master key is the key of David. It fits into any door. It can unlock things that no one can shut, and it can shut things that no one can open. Love is the most powerful force on earth. Hello, God is love. He lives in me. So we're going to close out here with Proverbs 12:1. It says, whoever loves discipline loves knowledge, but whoever hates correction is stupid. I didn't say it. The Bible said it. That's what it said. Are you encouraged today? I hope you are. I hope you're happy, having a great Friday. I hope you're taking good care of yourself as we move through this coronavirus thing together. If you liked what you heard today, please consider subscribing to the channel. You can do it at the upper right-hand corner of your screen. If you're needing a new tribe, consider emailing me at memoirsofanadhdmind@gmail.com. We'd love to vet you. We'd love to pray for you. And you never walk away empty. We always include and prophesy and try to see what God has to say about you. I can't guarantee a prophecy, but usually he always does show me things about people. And so we're not going to make anybody feel hurt or rejected or anything like that. But not everybody is called to be a front runner. You have to have a grace to be a front runner. Seriously, because we're at the head. So we take all the warfare first. And believe me, that takes a lot of grace to do that. So if you're not called to do that, then, just stay with us on the channel and learn, and we'll just keep feeding you here. But if you like it and you feel led, email me. We'd love to hear from you. And so with that, I hope you guys have a great weekend. Know that we love you. We meet on Mondays. We have public 15-minute revs, probably around 1-ish on Fridays and Mondays. And so we'll look forward to seeing you next Friday. You guys have a great weekend, and I'll look forward to seeing you then. Bye-bye.